One key area that is top of mind for a lot of organizations is the purchase of raw materials with good quality and at a fair price. But you would agree with me that this is largely dependent on the procurement process from initiation up until when the goods are being paid for and when they are received into the company's warehouse. My name is Oyekemi Ajayi, and today I'm going to be speaking on procurement process. So let's look at how procurement works. The very first stage is the identification of the need, identification of the goods and services required to be purchased, the source of the suppliers, the price, the terms and conditions to be negotiated, the actual purchase itself, and then payment for the goods and services. And then the very other thing we need to know is that procurement does not exist on its own. It cannot function in isolation. As a unit, it requires interface with other departments within an organization, and as a function, it is expected to be done on an ongoing basis. And then you also need to note that there are controls and there are checks that need to be put in place within the procurement process in order to reduce the occurrence of fraud or any malpractice within the organization. Now let's take it a step further and look at the actual procurement process in itself. We can say that this procurement process is like the life cycle of procurement. So the very first is the identification of the need, as said earlier. As the procurement manager or the staff responsible for procurement, you are expected to liaise with other departments, understand what the need is, get information on that. That's really around need identification. And then you move forward to purchase requisition. This relates to getting detailed information from other departments requesting for the items to be purchased. Information to consider under this is the products, the type of product that you're looking to purchase, further details on the quantity, the price, specifications, on the product. Also, if the company or the department already has a vendor in mind, you need to get the legal name or the details of that vendor. Now, once you review the purchase requisition, once it has been approved, that requisition itself can serve as a purchase order. The third option is quotation requests. You need to send requests for quotations to a number of vendors. We suggest that you do at the minimum 3 to 4 vendors so that you can have various options to select from. And then we move into vendor evaluation and contracting. You need to set criteria in which the vendor will be evaluated on. And then once you are satisfied that the vendor has ticked all the boxes, satisfied all the requirements, you can then proceed into contracting. Discuss or negotiate terms and conditions with the vendor, and then have an engagement with the vendor. For some organizations, they typically sign an SLA, which is a service level agreement with the vendor. Moving on from contracting, we talk about order management. And at this stage, we expect that the goods would be brought in or will be received in the organization. There are certain documents that need to accompany the goods when they are being brought. Recall that for some, depending on the type of business, a way bill would accompany the products when they are coming into your warehouse. But ensure that for you have a goods received note to at least be executed by the procurement manager, the storekeeper, and all that to receive the goods that have been delivered into the warehouse or the organization. And then we move on to invoicing. And then for invoicing, we say that, hey, ensure that the necessary approval limits are in place. Ensure that payment is verified and properly authorized within the organization. Ensure that the exact amount that is being paid for is what is on the invoice. Check little things like the amount in figures, the amount in naira, the currencies, just to be sure that you tick all the boxes from your end. And then finally, we talk about documentation. Ensure that all the documents with respect to this particular transaction are duly recorded and saved for audit purposes. I hope this presentation has been very impactful. I hope you've learned one or two things, I encourage that based on what we've said, based on the process you have in your organization, review side by side and then take corrective measures where necessary. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for listening. In the next presentation, we're going to be talking about the controls that you need to put in place, the checks you need to put in place in your procurement system to ensure that the occurrence of fraud is minimized to the barest minimum. Thank you so much for your time. Thanks for listening. Have a great one.